Over the last 2 decades as a financial planner, one of the biggest things I've seen retirees get wrong is how they approach spending, especially early in retirement. And this mistake often leads retirees to look back in their 80s and 90s wishing they had done things differently. So in this video, I want to discuss what the majority of retirees misunderstand about retirement spending, and then I'll show you exact strategy we use with our clients to help them enjoy their money stress-free. Let's jump into a report that BlackRock recently did around retirement spending, and I encourage you to read through this article. It's a great detail synopsis and deep dive into the data behind retirement and the things you need to shift behind, and that's the purpose of this video as well. So let's look at some key data points, which is on page 6 of the report. So figure 3, most have a spending plan, less than half plan to spend consistently. So 16% spend more at the start of retirement or travel or other purposes, and then reduce spending. And this goes back to what I want to dive into later in this video around laddered income and how we approach spending in retirement with our clients and why we think it actually makes a ton of sense. In the report, it says 43% of retirees plan to spend consistently throughout retirement. And so this is almost half of you watching this video plan to spend the exact same amount, or at least build a plan that shows you can spend the exact same amount right through your retirement. Now, if you think about it this way, do you think you're going to spend the same amount of money at age 65 as you do at, say, 75 or 85? I would say not. So why does your plan show you that? And I'm going to jump into our software here shortly to show you some ways to kind of manage how to build out a retirement plan so that you don't fall into this 43%, because it's probably not how you're going to spend. And again, I've been doing this business for 20 years now. I've been working with retirees through that whole time. And I can confirm you will spend more in your 60s than you do in your 70s and more than in your 80s. So again, let's build a plan around that. And 16% of you actually plan to spend less early in retirement and more later in retirement. And I think this might fall back to a lot of you that are worried about in-home care or a care facility and the cost of healthcare later on in life. Now, I can tell you that is a small percentage, and there's ways to get around this, and I'll cover that later in this video as well. And the most startling number is the 25%, which is those of you that have no plan. And I don't know how you enter into retirement without a plan. Even if it's a DIY plan, like create something, have some sort of plan. Ideally, get a professional to map it out because you'll save a lot of taxes and have a better strategy and clear roadmap going forward. But have something. It's like getting in the car and just driving and not knowing where you're going. Like, I've never gotten in my car and just started driving. If someone asked me, like, Adam, where are we going? Well, I don't know, we're just driving. Like, that's 25% of you walking into retirement, which blows my mind. As I mentioned earlier, for the last 20 years, I've seen clients walk through retirement. Enter retirement at 65, hit 75, now hitting 85. We've had a client turn 100. And statistics show, and we've seen it directly with our clients, that when they hit their early to mid 70s, things start to slow down. And that's where the 43% of you that plan to spend a level income through retirement, the reality is you're going to have more money later on in life than you ever thought you might have. And I'm going to show you this in the software. If you fall into that 43%, the reality is you're spending level, and then in your early 70s, it's like, I just can't spend as much anymore. So things drop off. And because things dropped off, but you plan to spend level, you're going to have more money later in life, and you physically can't spend it. And sure, you can pass it on to kids or grandkids or charities or whoever you want to give the money to. But again, would you have spent that money earlier in your retirement had you known that? You probably would have. And we did a video on that not long ago. We'll link that up here. But the biggest regrets that older people that have lived through most of their retirement, when they look back, that's the biggest regret. I wish I'd spent more money earlier. I wish I had a plan, a laddered income where it showed me I could spend more earlier and still be okay later, because I'm sitting on too much money, more than I ever thought I'd have. And had I known that, I would have done things different earlier. And that's why I'm doing this video. So that if you're someone that's earlier in retirement, or maybe you're leading up to retirement, and that's most of our viewers, you can make that change now so that you're not saying that same thing as maybe your parents are right now in their 80s, 90s, saying, yeah, I never knew I would have this much. If I had, I would have done things differently earlier on in retirement. And that's why in the plans that our team creates, we create a laddered income strategy. And what that means is that we figure out, like, optimization, when to take your CPP, how to draw down your accounts, create all the tax strategy and stuff. And once we have that final number, again, that's typically a level income. So let's say it's $60,000 every year for the rest of your life until you're 95. Well, wouldn't it be nice to maybe have 65,000 and then 60 and then like 55, right? In simple terms, that's the concept. So we have the go-go phase of retirement, which is retirement date up until, say, age 75. That's typically how we build it. So go-go phase is those earlier years of retirement. Then from 75 to 85, you have your slow-go years, right? You're still able to do stuff, but things start to slow down. You're not able to spend as much. Thus, the plan should reflect that. Then from 85 onward, you have your no-go phase. And if you know anyone 85 plus, they can confirm it's hard to spend money at that age in life unless you have some health issues. And again, I'll cover that here in a second. But that's the strategy, the laddered income, the go-go, slow-go, no-go. When you build out your retirement plan, I really encourage you to build that into your plan. Most of you don't have that. I mean, 25% of you don't even have a plan. 43% of you plan to have a level spent. I want that number to change. Everyone watching this video should have a plan and have a plan with laddered income. So before I jump into the software, the number one concern that we hear back from clients is, Adam, I love the idea of a laddered income. It makes a ton of sense, except what happens later in life if I need to go to a care home? I need in-home care. I have a health issue. I have this ongoing big expense. How do I pay for that? Maybe I haven't put enough money aside. So there's kind of two buckets here. I say, if you own real estate here in Canada, lean on your real estate as that buffer. The percentage of people that actually need in-home care or a care facility later in life, and especially those that need it for an extended period of time, is actually quite small. And I'm not going to go into all the detail here in this video. We've covered that before, and I'm going to do a future video around care facilities, the cost of it, how many people actually go into it and how long they're in that. I'll cover that in a future video. But it's actually a fairly small number. But for those of you that are very concerned about that, you have to remember, if you go to a care facility, well, you can lean on your asset of your house to maybe sell your house and move in. If you're married, you might say, well, yeah, but my spouse is still in the house. You can still leverage that. There's an asset there that you can lean on. So that's one way to look at it. If you're someone that's renting as you go through retirement, if you're renting a place through retirement and later on healthcare is a huge concern for you, then make sure you leave more money later. Maybe it's a kind of a laddered income like this, more, less, and then back to more again. Again, the concern of that is obviously, if you don't need care facility, you have a lot of extra money. So have you just spent enough early? Again, you don't want to run out of money later on either. Reminder that most care facilities, and I'll cover this in a future video, but most care facilities, especially the public ones, they're based on your assets and income, primarily your income. So if we can kind of burn that down, you're going to pay less for care facility later. And a lot of you are already typing like, Adam, I'll never go in a public care facility. I'll only do a private. I think it depends where you are in Canada, but I have family that works in both public and private, and they would send their family to the public one 100 times out of 100. And so I know it depends where you live and what facility, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of detail around that. But just remember that if you do own a home, that is a huge asset that you can lean into later in life. And most of you do own a home or some sort of real estate as you enter and go through retirement. So for a lot of you, that would be the buffer and the way to answer that concern as you build out your laddered income going through retirement. So let's quickly jump through 3 different examples. And again, I'm not going to dive into all the nuances of this, but this is a single individual person, 61 years old, and they're retired now. Now, based on the assets that they have, I've done a bit of an RSP meltdown. It's not perfect, but I just want to give a high level here and show you the concept behind what I'm talking about. So in this scenario, you can see that 61-year-old person living until 95, or we're doing cash flow planning until 95. The most they can draw out based on the data I have in here is $54,378 a year. So again, 43% of you would live a plan like this where it's, yeah, I want that level income for the rest of my life, which, okay, there you go. That's what you have for the rest of your life, $54,378. Now, our recommendation would be to ladder it. So if we jump into the exact same scenario here and ladder the income versus that flat line, you can see we bumped it up actually from about 54,000 all the way up to 60,000. So we're going to actually spend more early, travel more, enjoy whatever those hobbies are. Everyone's got their own bucket list. And so now we're able to enjoy life a little bit more while we're able to, while we're healthy in that go-go phase. And you can see at age 76, it decreases to $54,000 a year. And that goes through the slow-go stage. At age 86, the no-go phase, it drops down all the way to $40,536. Now, for a lot of you might say, Adam, $40,000? Now, again, that is in today's dollars. So in reality, they're going to have much more than that. So 40,000 in today's dollars, real dollars. Now, keep in mind, and again, we have lots of clients 80 plus. None of them spend $4,000 a month. None of them spend about $3,500. This is about $3,500 a month. Most people that late in life do not spend that type of money. Again, you probably know someone that late in life. How much are they spending? They're not spending that much. Typically, depends where you live, etc. $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So $40,000 later in life, trust me, is more than enough. So a client like this, I would say, look, you're fine later. Like $40,000, I'm comfortable. The rate of return we put in here, the inflation rate, all that is very conservative. So very conservatively, I can say instead of spending $54,000, I'm going to give you an extra $6,000 a year through go-go phase. Like that's another trip or whatever you want to do with that money. That's a lot of money to have. More than 10% more in the go-go phase. The slow-go is going to look like it would have otherwise. And the no-go phase is going to be scaled back, but it's still enough based on all the data that we see, your lifestyle, etc. That's what we're trying to accomplish in this. Now, here's my concern for the 43% of you. It's, no, Adam, I'm going to keep it level for $54,368 right through life. Well, guess what? You're going to hit a point later in life. And here I put it at age 87. We're spending less money. We're not able to spend the type of money. So that no-go phase of retirement, you were right, Adam. I can't spend as much. I'm only spending $40,000 a year. This is to match the number that we had in the previous illustration. And you can see, we've done RSP meltdown, so tax planning wise, we're fine. But the reality is, if this person lived till 95, they'd have $335,000 sitting in their tax-free savings account. If they die at life expectancy, age 87, they have $396,000 left. There's lots of money left later in life, and that may not be a problem for some, but you might say, yeah, if I have extra money, perfect. I'll give it to my kids, my grandkids, whatever. But for many of you, you have just enough to get through the retirement you want to live. And maybe you're sacrificing in that earlier years of retirement because you're worried about later on. And then you come to a situation like this and you think, man, if I only knew, I would have spent more earlier. And so this is the reality for a lot of you. You're spending a level income. Later in life, you're not going to spend as much and you're going to have this bucket of money. A lot of you want to die with zero. I talk to you guys all the time. I want to die with zero, spend every dollar. Well, to be able to spend every dollar and die with zero, you need to have a proper plan that has you spending more earlier in retirement. I can tell you that firsthand because of doing that long enough. We've seen enough clients walk through retirement and not die with zero because they weren't spending enough early. The biggest mistake I see people make in their first couple of years of retirement is not spending enough. And that really goes back to more of a psychological side of retirement versus financial. But again, you need that financial plan to show you what you could spend. So this client, instead of $54,000, they could be spending $60,000, another $6,000 every single year in their pocket to spend after tax, and still be okay later in life, and hopefully help avoid having a big nest egg that they weren't really planning for. So again, as you lead up to retirement, or maybe you're already early in retirement, does your plan look like this? Do you have a laddered income, or are you falling into the 43%? Maybe you're falling into the 25% with no plan. Let's get past that. Let's actually get a plan in place. Let's build that laddered income. Again, if you need help with that, we'd love to help you out. You can learn more at parallelwealth.com/planning. All the information about our services are on there, a sample plan, our pricing, all of it. Check it out. If you want help with that, we'd love to help you out and get things on track. Not only save you money in taxes, put more money back in your pocket, but create a plan that lines up with how you should actually and probably will walk through your retirement. And when we look at our retirement planning, the laddered income is just one piece of many pieces that we look at to make sure you have an optimal plan. If you'd like to see a video on a full plan build out, check out this video here.